Hi, welcome everyone. It's 10 a.m. and we're going to give a couple of other folks in a time to trickle in. So we will be starting our program and the presentation in about 3 minutes. All right. I keep going on and off the presentation. Apologies for folks. I had to unmute myself. So my name is Jessica Gomez, and I am from the Office of Housing at the City of Seattle, and I am the Fort Lawton Redevelopment Site Project Manager, and this is the presentation to kick off our comment process for the supplemental environmental impact statement that is currently underway. I'm going to hand it off to my colleagues in a couple minutes, but I wanted to recognize and maybe say that I have met a couple of you in the last couple of sessions that we've done within the community, and this is really gracious enough for you all to join us today, and I really appreciate all the folks that are showing up today on this Tuesday morning. Wanted to follow up and make sure that we acknowledge that this is a big conversation around land and about opportunity and the ability to redevelop these sites. And we acknowledge that we're on the unceded ancestral lands of the first people of Seattle, the Coast Salish peoples, including the Duwamish, Suquamish, Muckleshoot, and other indigenous peoples. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the original stewards of this land, past, present, and future, and really appreciate your time that you're spending with us away from work, home, and family. And welcome my colleague, Cara Valle, to move on to the next part of the presentation. Cara?
Thank you, Jessica. My name is Kara Kadoshima Vallier. I work with the mayor on the policy team. I'm a senior policy advisor for him, and I'm working on special projects such as Fort Lawton. This really exemplifies the mayor's One Seattle approach to governing right now, and it also, the Fort Lawton project touches on some of his key values and initiatives, which are affordable housing and the environment. And so this is a really historic opportunity to take advantage of this BRAC base realignment and closure process in adding housing and park space to our city. Um, he recognizes, the mayor, that this is a really important opportunity, and just wanted to thank you all for being here and being part of this process as we go back to Jessica and learn more about the project.
Great. Thank you, Carol. The Fort Lawton redevelopment timeline. This is a timeline that most of you might have already seen. In 2005, the Army declares a site surplus. In 2017, the city leases 34 acres of Fort Lawton to the city. We currently do 2 site inspections with the Army and the BRAC office twice a year to check the buildings and the site and how is it being maintained and secured. In 2019, the city updates the redevelopment plan, and we were waiting for HUD approval for a really long time. In 2022, we began to not only coordinate with the Army, and which we had been for several years now, but we start coordinating a lot more. Pretty much because it's towards, I want to say halfway or a little bit more past the pandemic when it first started. Not that that it had ended, but that coordination got really tighter within the HUD regional office and HUD headquarters. And that coordination really led to us figuring out what were the next challenges, or if not, milestones that needed to be met. And the city then conducted its first infrastructure analysis, and which you might have saw in the Seattle Times articles, that estimated about $120 million in infrastructure costs. That led us to really question the project, figuring out like what were some alternatives. That infrastructure analysis did not consider alternatives, as in change in keeping some of the trees or changing the configuration of the buildings. That was not considered. In 2023, with that second analysis that we did, that you can see both reports on our website, it is the Heartland report. And that second analysis was conducted to consider other development options and what that could produce as far as either changing the amount of infrastructure or the cost of infrastructure, and then what opportunities did we have for this development opportunity. And so the city receives an extension from HUD till December 2027 to look at that potential revision. In 2024, with that extension, the mayor decides that the opportunity here was to consider or to move forward with 237 units in the first plan, up to 500 units for revised plan. That revision, or that change in the redevelopment plan would require for a supplemental environmental impact statement to be done. This is the change that's currently being considered, and we are currently in the scoping process. Our event that took place in person at Daybreak Star last Thursday on October 10th was an opportunity for folks, as this event is as well, for you to opine on what should the environmental consultant consider when evaluating the environmental impact statement. So are there areas that need to be considered of conservation, animal passages, roadways, pollution, traffic, light pollution, etc. And currently, the mayor's office convened an infrastructure leadership team here internally within the city that we are looking at ways in which the city will fundraise for those for the infrastructure. In 2024 and 2025, we plan to resubmit the redevelopment plan approval to hopefully an approval to the city council, and to resubmit a new redevelopment plan to HUD with the revision of up to 500 units of homes going onto the site. And so many of you might have questions about what does the Office of Housing do if you don't know us already. You might have voted or not for the housing levy that came up for revision in 2023. And overall, our funds pay for the investment of affordable housing development and programs throughout the city. And this is the affordable housing providers such as Bellwether or Lehigh, Plymouth, Chief Seattle Club, Mercy Housing. These types of developers come to us for subsidies to invest in their affordable housing projects. We also implement policy and equitable development and then provide affordable home improvement programs such as cleaning out sewers and making sure that elderly or people who have low incomes who own their homes are able to maintain their homes and stay in their homes in a safe and healthy environment. Many of you know this. Four Lines, located in potentially your neighborhood, if you're calling in from the vicinity. It's in Magnolia, located within the area of Discovery Park. The land is currently owned by the U.S. Army, and we want to create a diverse community offering affordable housing, parks, and supportive services for those folks who need them, all contributing to a vibrant living environment. That's our goal throughout the entire city, is thinking about what are the opportunities that people can really find some safe housing and not be further displaced from the city. Many people have a lot of misconceptions about who lives in affordable housing. So, on the left image, Richie and Renee are expecting a baby. They can't afford, they'd like a one bedroom and they're having a hard time affording a unit. This is a very typical persona of who lives in our homes. A grocery clerk, barista, household income of about $77,000 with an affordable monthly rent of about $1,900. This is who we think is really important also to help um, think about generational wealth, have opportunities to save housing, also have the opportunities for good schooling and access to parks. On the right image, Jamie and Alyssa are looking for their first time home to purchase. This is an intergenerational home family looking at an art teacher, construction worker with an affordable mortgage of about $2,500. This is extremely important for us to provide access for folks who typically wouldn't be able to purchase a home within the bounds of the city of Seattle and would have to likely leave the city to go and find a home and potentially have to then transport themselves to work in the city every day. And so the vision and considerations. We've never been able to fund a project in Magnolia. For the Office of Housing, we're looking for ways to have families have more access to different areas that typically they would not have. The barriers are too high for them to find to get homes there. So making sure that we are abiding for the Fair Housing Act and offering any type of potential choice that we can give to families to live in neighborhoods that are usually they're excluded from there because of income or because of access to transportation or ability to be able to get their family there or size of units. And so most of the homes that we're projecting to go to for Lawton are 2 to 4 bedroom housing units. This means for families that are intergenerational, single parents with children, these are the opportunities that we find to be extremely exciting and groundbreaking for the Four Line redevelopment project and giving children an opportunity to hopefully get out of poverty. With the access to schools and the access to parkland, this really has huge improvements for families looking to have better health indicators as well as generational wealth potential. And so, transforming Fort Lawton into a vibrant community, we're building 500 affordable homes with supportive services in Seattle's Discovery Park, preserving 22 acres of green space. 22 acres of land will be going back to Seattle Parks and Recreation and addressing past injustices. And then hoping that Magnolia can be a place and a source for opportunities to creating a diverse and sustainable future for all. So on the left, investments and opportunities. This is what the Office of Housing has invested in until 2022. As you can tell, in Magnolia, we do not have any investments. This has definitely been a barrier because of land costs, zoning, and just opportunities for us to be able to get our foot in the door, or even our affordable housing developers to get in the door. Just a reminder that we don't purchase land. The Office of Housing does not purchase land to then develop. Our affordable housing developers, as I mentioned before, Mercy Northwest Housing, Plymouth, Lehigh, Chief Seattle Club, El Centro, Interim. These organizations are really looking for opportunities to purchase land for them to seek out funding for affordable housing. These organizations are the ones that use their cash flow, which usually ends up being tended to be directed for all the programming that they do. And they look for land to purchase, and they also look for funding, not only from the Office of Housing, but from the state and the federal government to help fund the affordable housing development. The Office of Housing does not fund anything completely 100%. This is a very joint and collaborative effort throughout the region. And also, just for clarification, we do not purchase land for our development. And so from the 2019 redevelopment plan, you can see on the left, everything in red is part of this redevelopment plan. It's 34 acres, 33.95 acres of the reserve. And there's some buildings on there. Those are the buildings that get reviewed twice a year for us to make sure that they pass inspection with the federal government. And this is the land that this is the map that we submitted from 2019. On the right was the massing that potentially was part of the vision that was part of the submission. And so on the left, if you see that backward C, that is where the permanent supportive housing, and that is formerly homeless housing. The one to the right across the street from Texas Way, I'm trying to go a little slow and I apologize if I'm going too fast. All these images are on our website. So to the right, you have 4 buildings, and they're 2 vertical and 2 horizontal. And that is for the workforce house rental affordable home, sorry, the affordable rental units. And then along the top, these little squares, and coming down to on the right, which is like an upside down L, those are all the home ownership opportunities that we projected back in the 2019 plan. The building to the far north of that is the maintenance building with Seattle Parks and Recreation, and then the units on the bottom, which is multipurpose athletic fields. These are grass fields, not lit, that is projected with the 2019 redevelopment plan. And so this plan projected 100 units of permanent supportive housing for homeless seniors and veterans. For clarification, permanent supportive housing means that the bottom floor of the building has services such as caseworkers, maybe a doctor or a psychiatrist, and social workers helping the residents of that building or those buildings on that one site. Just a reminder, this is the backward C building. That is for the formerly homeless seniors and veterans. That permanent supportive housing piece are services that are come with all of our permanent supportive housing units. This is the model that is we have throughout the city, and many developers have that across the country. This is so that the services are readily available when needed, and there is somebody on the clock 24 hours a day helping with security, helping with services, need for food, need for safety. Any of those services are come in with the building. Then it's the affordable rental housing, which is 85 units, and that was or is projected with Catholic Housing Services, and then 52 units with Habitat for Humanity for first-time home ownership. 22 acres of land will go back to Seattle Parks and Recreation, with the multipurpose fields going to Seattle Public Schools. That is what was submitted for the 237 units in the 2019 redevelopment plan. And so as you saw from the timeline originally from the beginning of the presentation, that we got an extension from HUD because the mayor was to look at option A, B, or C. And with that, we looked at the left-hand side, which left everything as is, nothing to be changed, no rezoning, no increase for 237 units. That's it. And then Heartland looked at two other options. Optimize for more homes. What does that mean? Is that the infrastructure cost stays the same. However, the amount of units that can be built on the site should be built based on zoning, based on capacity, and based on just reality. And so we looked at doing this and we offered it to the mayor as an option. For this is the increase from 237 units to 500. And so no rezoning here, same footprint, nothing changes. And on the right-hand side on option C was the review of doing everything housing. And very much like a typical redevelopment or a for-profit redevelopment opportunity, the developer is going to consider building as much as possible. And with option C, that considered about 1,000 units of housing with all the areas rezoned. And that was not an option that the city was going to go down. And this mayor landed on option B is to use the same footprint and increase it to about or to approximately 500 units to be on the site. And HUD was really excited about this and said, great, we are going to be excited and would like for you to go through all the steps so you can submit a redevelopment plan with that change. And we get this question a lot. What is the land acquisition savings for this and why is this so important here? There are many reasons why this is a great opportunity. One, we've never built in Magnolia before. This is an opportunity to give families who typically would be displaced from the city having a choice to live in Magnolia or in areas. We always love when people can live in areas that they typically would not be able to live in. And choice is a really big thing because people don't recognize that this is an opportunity for desegregation and to continue the opportunity of moving towards closer to the goal of the Fair Housing Act. And so on the left, the zero cost transfer is that what comes at a $0? What will be transferred? Which land will be transferred for no cost? The land dedicated to parks is at $0. And so that is really important to note that the parkland, anything designated to go to parkland will be transferred for no cost at all. And then the permanent supportive housing, seniors and veterans. What triggers this application and why is HUD involved? HUD is involved because they want to support the building of formerly homeless housing. And that would mean that they could say, if they approve of this plan, Army, we think that this is a great project. It has a public benefit. We approve of you transferring this parcel of land for formerly homeless housing to be given to the city of Seattle for $0. That is the plan here for that portion of the parcel. Now, that doesn't mean that the other two parcels are free. The next parcel for affordable rental housing will be at 50% discount. This is all based on federal rules. And then for home ownership, that land is projected to be at 75% discount. So I got this question a lot on Thursday is why is this so important? Is that within the cost of land in areas that typically don't have affordable housing in them, such as Magnolia, the cost of land is that much more expensive. Now, to add to that, the size of the land is going to be very small, even if we had the opportunity to purchase that land. Then again, remember, the city of Seattle does not purchase land. We don't search and buy land to build affordable housing. Whenever you see affordable housing, it is 90% of the time you're going to see that affordable housing developer purchased it, applied for funding through competitive rounds, and got the subsidy to build the housing. In in situations where we get land transferred to us, for example, the University of Washington laundry facility, in Mount Baker, this opportunity, such as U.S. Army land being considered to be transferred to the city at almost zero cost, this is the opportunity. So we're trying to maximize the opportunity to get land and to also build housing and mitigate the homelessness crisis, but also mitigating the displacement crisis that families are experiencing throughout the whole city. I'm going to ask if my colleague is on, Andy Sheffer, just to talk about the parks relationship here. I think he had a conflict, but let's just check. Okay, Andy, cut me off if you do come on or if you are on. So this relationship, and I'm not going to speak through this slide specifically because this is his, and he was there on Thursday. Um, the collaboration between parks and housing is really important. There is more land going back to parks than there is for the housing. And this is very important for our collaborative effort. This is a park that Seattle Parks and Recreation does have a lot of relationship with its neighbors, Friends of Discovery Park, the community at whole in itself. And this is a collaboration that has been pretty strong in, I want to say, in the last 5 years since I got on this project. And so Parks is usually has been at every of the all the community meetings that we've had and are really excited about this project and also then acquiring land that typically they wouldn't have had the opportunity without this application. And so the next steps, right now we're currently within the supplemental environmental impact statement. We are within the 21-day comment period. And what this means is that we put it to ourselves that we were going to have two sessions for public engagement during this SEIS process. One was in person on last Thursday, and the one is today for the webinar. And we are asking for folks to give us comment up to October 23rd. I should have put that down on the slide. I apologize. It is on our website up till October 23rd to give us comment on what you think should be reviewed within this supplemental environmental impact statement. Are you worried about accessibility, lighting, some sort of habitat? Please make sure to chime in, and my email along with the comments email that we're using to collect all the comments and questions is that you submit them in writing over email. And if you need any more support, please reach out as possible. I am doing some community events as well with my colleagues, Kara and Andy, to talk with community on a much more intimate level. But I do want to stress that in the in the plan to collect everything, we do need everything in writing. And so we did have folks transcribe comments or questions on Thursday in case people needed some support in putting down their comments or suggestions. I would make this available. So I feel like we would need to make sure we touch base with anybody who might need that support. So again, October 23rd, making sure that you submit comments and on anything that you think the EIS needs to be aware of. Um, we think that we will have a draft environmental impact statement for everyone to review on our website. You will get a notification if you're on our subscription list for the Lawton redevelopment project. It's on our website. Um, and we will have it by the end of this year, if not for the beginning of 2025. Once you see that, this is an opportunity now to comment on, did the draft environmental impact statement meet the expectations? Where did they miss the mark? What should they have evaluated that they didn't evaluate? This is now that opportunity. And so today I can take some questions. I'm only going to take a handful of questions. This whole webinar is recorded, so feel free to share this with your friends and we'll have this up on our website. However, we want to hear everyone's comments, but I do want to streamline and let you know that we're going to be collecting the comments for any suggestions on how the EIS is being administered, which is really important. We want to hear about all your feelings about the project and where we missed the mark and where we didn't. However, the SEIS is also, try to let me know if your comment is related to the SEIS. And if all goes well and we move on and the comment period has passed for October, and then the comment period has passed with the draft environmental impact statement, the environmental consultant will finalize their and final environmental impact statement and then have it ready. All the comments submitted during this time about how the supplemental EIS should change or consider or evaluate, that will be included in the draft in the final EIS, I'm sorry, in the final EIS. Once that is done, that means that we have an opportunity now to go to the city council for approval of the whole redevelopment plan. And if and all goes well with that approval, we will be submitting to the redevelopment plan to HUD and the U.S. Army, hopefully by mid 2025. That is pretty much it. I'm going to leave my email on here along with our official OH Comments email for you to submit your comments, and I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Kara.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. That was really informative and I appreciate it. I did want to just respond to one comment about the number of the units that OH is looking into and part of the new redevelopment plan. The current zoning is capped at up to 500 units. We are not looking anything beyond that. That is the current zoning. It was changed in the 2019 redevelopment plan, and that is the scope of our project. Nothing beyond that. So just wanted to add that one bit of clarification. And also just wanted to conclude by talking about the mayor's history of this project. He was on the city council when the 2008 plan was passed. He was president of the council when the 2019 redevelopment plan was passed unanimously. And so there is just a ton of support for this project. And I just wanted to emphasize the reception that we're getting locally with our nonprofit partners, with the state delegation, with HUD, and with others. That this is really just a historic opportunity. It is a One Seattle opportunity. And I just wanted to thank you all for being here. And I know that there are a ton of comments. We won't be able to answer them all, but I really do appreciate your participation and the community investment here. Jessica, do you want to
Great.
take it back for questions?
Sure. There's so many questions here, and I get there's a lot of confusion with some of these parts. So what is supportive services? Supportive services, as I mentioned before, can be caseworker, supportive services about mental health, health education, eating, SNAP benefits. It could be about reuniting with family. It can be about medical support and psychiatric support. That is what supportive services, and they're located within all of our supportive services, all of our supportive housing developments throughout the city. Throughout the city. Um, so
Jessica,
Blaine,
can you
yeah.
talk a little bit about the affordable home ownership?
Sure. The homeownership is slated with, went through a competitive process with Habitat for Humanity. Those are for families that have about 80% AMI, which is about 120, $130,000 gross income for the whole family. And this is a first-time home buyer opportunity for these families. Habitat has done a lot of projects throughout the country, specifically great partnership here in Seattle, and that is who is likely to also do the increase in affordable homeownership opportunities within this plan. So I get a lot of questions right here about big trees and traffic. So let me address the traffic first. So the environmental impact statement is reviewing the traffic analysis. That is what an environmental impact statement. It is light pollution, sound pollution, air pollution, traffic, how many vehicles can be on the like roadways without there being an adverse impact. We're talking about animal habitats, um, what everything that takes into the environment. This is why we want people to comment during this period, is if you feel that something is not going to be evaluated and should be, these are the comments that we need. Um, the but all of this will be analyzed and will be shared in the draft environmental impact statement that you will see come later in this year, or if not, the beginning of 2025. And so it looks like the big trees along 36th Avenue will be saved in the current plan. Yes. One of the big infrastructure costs for the original $120 million infrastructure estimate that you saw from the Seattle Times article back, and there's been a couple, but they do lay it out. And it was one that there was a lot of soil transfer off the land, and we have come up with an idea that that soil should not be removed. And so that is definitely a cost savings there. And then the second thing is that those trees, all the trees that can be saved should be saved. And that was a big deal for us, not only because the city currently has an ordinance on the books saying that those should be saved, all trees have to be saved, but it was very important for this plan to make sure that we were looking at this as like holistically. What does the development need? What does the campus need? How do we really bring the beauty that the current space has, but at the same time are able to develop? So how do we do and meet this mark and also bringing down the carbon footprint of the whole development? So that's what we're doing now. Um, so I have room for three more. Um, this has not been designed yet. We are not in the design phase yet. There will not be elevated parking and there will not be underground parking just because of that cost. Also, we're using the land for housing, not for parking, for an elevated structure. There will be parking on the site, but we are still in that design phase, so it's too early to tell. There will be relationship and collaboration with with Metro to make sure that the connection to any future light rail stations, as well as increasing the occurrence of the current bus stops or the bus route, are taking and collaborating with how many people are planning to be living at the site. So there are a lot of questions about schools. I can't answer to this because I am not SPS. However, there are lots of questions about what does this mean for will these will be families. These will be most likely families with children who will likely put their children in the local schools, which is a huge factor for getting families outside of poverty. Big health indicators and big generational wealth building indicators show that two things are really needed for families to at least to have like the foundation to move out of poverty. One is access to really good education, which is something that Magnolia definitely has, and two, access to green space and clean air. This is something that we love the opportunity to provide this level of choice to families who definitely wouldn't have this level of choice. And I'll take one last question. You can find all of the information on our current site with the Heartland report, along with the previous report, um, on our website. And I think Nathan posted that a little farther up in the chat in the Q&A, if you can find it there. There is currently no massing study to show what we are currently really planning. This is still, we're still working through a lot. There's a lot to be done right now with figuring out what goes where and how, and then how this the whole thing will be designed. So we don't have that level of detail. We don't have the level of detail to show how many homes will go to home ownership versus affordable rental, but there will be increase in both. The That would be very exciting for us to provide that level of housing for those families. And I think one last one. Great, thank you, Todd. So these are not homeless shelters. This is formerly homeless folks who will be living in permanent, stable housing. Let me just clarify that we do not, the Office of Housing does not pay, purchase, or run shelters. What we do is pay for permanent, we pay for a subsidy for a portion of the development of permanent housing for people who are formerly housed, unhoused, formerly homeless. Sorry, I'm like mixing up my words. There's a lot of information here, but I just want to clarify that. Great. So thank you very much for everybody for joining. I really appreciate all these questions. I'm going to just take them really quickly and copy and paste them. This is all being recorded, so you can always go back to the link and share the video with your friends. One thing that I do want to propose, and you have my email address that's on the chat as well, is that if you have a community group, if you have the PTA, if you have a neighborhood organization that you would like for me, Kara, and Andy to come and make the same presentation and answer questions in a more intimate setting, that is something that we are willing to do. And want to say that this is uncomfortable for a lot of folks. People feel a lot of different ways. I got a lot of questions that were really concerned about the project, and I got a lot of support on the Thursday in-person event. I've also had a lot of beautiful emails come through with very critical questions that people feel really uneasy about, and also a lot of support. All this to say is good projects come with some serious headaches, and we understand that. And it's not going to be everybody's. It's not going to be a great experience for everybody, but I do want to share the opportunity to talk. Let's talk. Let's hear the concerns. Kara on the mayor's office is extremely on board with this and has been super supportive on this. And we're willing to listen to everybody. Can we jot it down? Can we put down the comments? Yes. I do want everybody to put in their comments if they have something to talk about for the environmental impact statement. And as well as share with me and Kara what your feelings are, and also clarification. You know, this whole homeless shelters, or where is parking going to go, or when is the massing study going to be done to clarify which housing typology is going to take up what space on the plan. Once we have all these details come through, we definitely want to share with the community. And thanks so much, Phil, for your attendance. Really appreciate it. I think we've had some very fruitful conversations, and I appreciate the support and also the tough questions. Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody. If you go onto our website, I got a really good question is where's the mailing list to join? It is on our website. And if you just Google Office of Housing for Lawton, you will get it as well. And you can join the listserv there. You will get automatic details whenever we're ready to publish the draft EIS. So we hope to have as much community engagement for that. There will be another session planned for that draft EIS and an opportunity for people to chime in there. Great. Thanks so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. Have a great morning.